Frey, are we on?
1 second.
Okay.
Yep, there we go.
Okay. And Joe, can you tell, are we on YouTube?
Oh, I could look.
See you guys. Can't see that far. I can see your mouth open, but I can't see your eyes. I know, I know. It's Friday. Sorry.
And yeah, we're live.
There, okay. So we're going to call the meeting to order, open session at 6:04. There's nothing to report out from closed session, and unless we need to move something on the agenda, can I have a motion for approval of the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Moving forward, do we have public comment on non-agenda? Oh, sorry. Thank you. See, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, sorry, moving on. Do we have public comment of non-agenda items?
We do not. We do not.
And, okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to patriotic exercise with Vice President Snyder.
Yes, so Renee, did you?
I do.
Okay, so in looking at the exercise for this evening, I was looking at the agenda and was very intrigued under the acknowledgements regarding the Great Kindness Challenge Week. Never heard of it. Thought, wow, what a really cool thing. So I did some research and found a video that kind of talks about what it is. My understanding is that the district is not officially a part of this yet, so I thought this was a good opportunity in our patriotic realm to learn how to be a part of what I consider something pretty cool.
What started with 3 schools in Carlsbad has spread across the world into the Great Kindness Challenge.
Kind just means that you be good to other friends. It means to be very nice and be self-kind.
This is an initiative across the country. 15 million other students from 25,000 other schools across the country. And even outside of the United States, people are taking part of this. It's pretty neat. While the students have their own checklist of acts of kindness at school and at home, they can create their own good deeds. A smile to a stranger or a simple thank you. Small tasks that we sometimes forget can make a huge impact on someone's growth. Busca enseñar a los niños que no es difícil aportar o ser amable con otras personas. The goal is to help transform the way these kids view and treat others. Students will be spreading compassion and helping others in the classroom and at home.
And I smiled at 25 people. And he's just sad.
So I went down to the nurse and I told her that she has helped me through my ups and downs.
I need a thank you note for the custodial staff for helping keep our school very clean.
Kindness can bloom and it can grow and it can be contagious. Teachers, Vista firefighters, sheriff deputies, and even city leaders showed up and created a tunnel of kindness for kids to walk through. And my goal is to smile 25 days the rest of the day. Students have been involved in global service projects. Our students have raised over $4,000 for reading to kindergartens. We like being kind. With the kindness challenge, it's just helping people realize that
So, last year, so it's coming up at the end of the month. Last year, over 18 million students participated in over 36,000 schools, doing over 900 million acts of kindness in over 110 countries.
That's awesome. Thank you. It's a
And
nice
Scott,
way
we
to.
I did pass that link on to our principals, and Lundy was already on it and had already discussed this with her leadership team previously, so Redwood will be a part of it, and then I spoke with Jamie, and she's planning to at least start a small implementation of it this year at Dana Gray. So,
It's amazing what 3 schools in Carlsbad can do over
Yeah.
5 years, 6 years.
Yeah.
It hasn't been that long.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to acknowledgements, item 5.1.
all right. So we have our acknowledgements for January. January is National Blood Donor Month and National Staying Healthy Month, keeping all those New Year's resolutions going. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day will be observed this coming Monday. The Lunar New Year is January 22nd. International Holocaust Remembrance Day is January 27th. And as we had already said, the Great Kindness Challenge Week is January 23rd through 27th. I'd also like to take a moment of silence. We've experienced some losses in our FBUSD extended family over the last couple of weeks, and just like to take a moment in remembrance of those folks. Thank you. Under our donation acknowledgements, we have $10,000 from the Mendocino Coast Children's Fund for the Pay It Forward Pantry. So we're really happy that they have provided that much for that very successful program. And it's a part of the matching funds that we got for the USDA grant award. $100 from Bruneski Heating and Sheet Metal to support the middle school A-team basketball tournament. $100 from BNC Grocery to support the middle school basketball tournament. The $200 from Cooper Plumbing to support the boys A-team basketball tournament at the middle school, and $100 from Fort Bragg Towing and Auto Repair for the same purpose. $550 from FBMS Parents Club to support FBMS Student Council, and $500 from an anonymous donor to support the FBMS Student Council.
Thank you. We're lucky to be part of a generous community. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Tim Anderson and Katrina Titchenen for keeping that Pay It Forward Pantry going, because that's no small task, and it's served a lot of kids. So on to communication. Has anybody had anything? I think we probably all had the same. We had Laurel Green, our CSBA Region 1 PACER, who's leaving us, or has now left us, for greener pastures. But she had the December 14th email for the budget workshop opportunities. So if you are still interested, you still can sign up. There's one January 30th in person at Lake County, and one February 1st virtually with Humboldt County Office of Ed. And then also emails from Mr. Zwirling, an email from Mr. Guadino, and an email from Jennifer Salyer, excuse me. Any others?
No, I was just, the email from Mr. Guadino, he's representing the Golden State History Project, or Golden State History. I know nothing about the organization, but I know that they're trying to add information. Their goal is to add information to the curriculum about inland and coastal maritime routes. So if that's something the board would be interested in pursuing, we could move forward, but I know that I got responses from several board members that they received the same information, so I won't belabor that.
No. Thank you. Okay. Moving on to item 7, public comment on agenda items. I guess I still read this even though there's nobody doing that, right? I will read it. In-person disclosures. Individuals may address the board on agenda and non-agenda items during public comment and/or at the time they are under consideration by completing the speaker form provided on the table at the entrance and submitting to Renee Holes, Administrative Assistant. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. Speakers will be chosen in random order. A timer will be set for 3 minutes. If you do not complete your comment when the timer rings, you may leave a written comment for the board's information. Each person may only speak once per agenda topic and is required to address the board from the podium. A total of 20 minutes public comments per topic will be allowed. In exceptional circumstances, the board may consider adjusting the amount of time allowed for public comment. Public comment cannot be acted upon or discussed by the board in accordance with the Brown Act. The board may request staff to respond orally at the meeting or at a future time. If you require translation service, please contact Renee Holes at the district office 72 hours in advance by phone or email. Regular meetings will be videoed and broadcasted on the FBUSD YouTube channel. Members of the public who wish to address the board may also submit public comments prior to the start of the meeting by emailing boardmeeting@fbusd.us. Staff will make all attempts to share and record any submissions received prior to or during the board meeting. However, depending on timing, late submissions may be provided to the board after the conclusion of the meeting. Okay. So, I don't see. Okay. Do we have any?
No, we don't have any
Okay,
public comment.
Thank you. Then we shall move on. So we'll start with 8.1 with student representative report. Joe.
All right, thank you. I'll start my report by mentioning that, of course, on the 16th we have the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, and there will be no school district-wide. And at Redwood, there is the Kindness Challenge happening, as was previously mentioned. That's the week of the 23rd through 27th, so that might be pretty cool. The Redwood Parents Club night with the counselor Jody Schmid is Thursday the 19th, and the Spanish part of that will be 5:15 to 6 p.m. and English is 6 to 6:45. At Redwood, there's also the Student Aware Assemblies, Thursday the 26th from 9 to 10:30, with one for each grade level. And February 2nd will be the College and Career Day. Also happening at Redwood is Parents Club events, like the February 2nd through 10th, it will be a readathon with a book fair with the date and time to be determined, and an ice cream social on February 9th from 2:30 to 6:30, and Redwood students can have a free scoop of ice cream, and scoops are available for purchase by other people. From Dana Gray, I have a report from Jamie Alexander, and this is in her words. Unfortunately, right now, we are just getting our New Year's boots on. The kids were excited to be back on campus, many stories about their time away from school. Most are a little tired from getting up early. The great thing is that they were excited to be back on campus. I got quite a few hugs today, says Jamie. From the middle school, basketball season is going to continue through February, and there will be a basketball rally planned by the leadership class and by the student council on Friday the 13th, so I guess tomorrow. Oh, thank you. February 10th, okay. And at the high school, we've had hoopla happening this week. It's a kickoff to the winter sports, and then we've had dress-up days that I helped plan on ASB. We had neon day, anything but a backpack. Tomorrow's going to be Jersey Day or school colors. And there's also a student versus teacher basketball game tomorrow at lunch. And there is lots of wrestling and basketball happening to watch each week. And I know for a fact that next Wednesday is the first wrestling tournament in town, so feel free to go check that out. And there's more exact times of sporting events on the webpage. And I have nothing to report from Noyo High School, so that is my whole report. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anything for Kindness Challenge Week that the board could pop in to see?
I will keep you posted. We just agreed to it at our staff meeting last
Okay.
Monday, so I'm
Yeah.
going to work with Jody about planning some events, but we'll
Okay.
have specifics. We'd love to include you.
Thank you. Okay.
I've got just a comment
Yes.
to Joe. So no pressure, but just giving you a reminder that there's the student board member training
Right.
Oh,
thank
right.
you.
January 18, a Wednesday from 3:30 to 6:30, and it's virtual. So I don't know, your
Okay.
schedule's probably pretty full, but it looks like it could be meaningful.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you want a link for that? You-
Yes, please,
Can you send her that, Diana?
if possible.
Okay. So are we going to be waiting on Don Alameda to come for the construction report, or are we going to go ahead with that?
I think we'll just move forward with it.
Okay.
There wasn't a great deal to report. The weather and holidays kind of, not much has happened probably since our last board meeting, other than cosmetically as you go by the building. I think you can see there's a good bit that's done there. They've got some of the poured flooring that's done inside. A lot of the sheetrock is now finished, and they're doing the painting and everything inside.
So that must mean the windows arrived.
Yes.
That's good.
Those windows.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, some.
Not the others. We do anticipate a delay. I don't think the HVAC system will get here till probably mid to late January, or February rather. But it doesn't matter, because we couldn't do anything with the HVAC system without the switch gear that's not supposed to be here until still June. There hasn't been an update there. So it's kind of a moot point. We couldn't operate it even if we wanted to.
Yeah.
So. But other than that, the building, the physical structure itself is coming along well. And I expect if it dries out enough, they'll start pouring the outside concrete here pretty soon. So.
Okay, great, thank you. We'll move on to item 8.3, superintendent report.
Okay. So first up, we have Alt Ed campus highlights.
I'm working on it.
I don't even, is this on?
Yep.
No.
I have some pictures, I will tell you that. And I will also say that I had told Joe that we were supposed to have a soccer game against the Coast Guard coming up this month. However, they are understaffed. And so we have to postpone it till beginning of March or the end of March, because they don't have enough people to play soccer. So, I know, that's a bummer. Oh, look, there it is. Okay, you can go to the first picture
Drum
what?
Drum roll.
So we had a lot of stuff going on since my last update. Some of these pictures are from things we've done. We had our students and staff went to a big picture school in Ukiah for a Northern California collaboration. So there were the schools, the big picture schools in Northern California, which include Willett, include Ukiah, Cloverdale, Windsor, Hillsburg, and us, and they played basketball game, and they had a great feast, and they did tie-dyeing, and they got to meet other schools, and they got to, play sports against them. So it was a really, really successful, even though our kids were a little out of their comfort zone, they were still loving it. So the basketball pictures of that time, and the picture on the right is some of our kids playing just during PE. And we also had, one of the spot lessons was doing basic experiments, and we had a soda and Mentos rockets, and with various variables, number of Mentos, size of the Coke. Is Sprite better? Is Coke better? Is Pepsi better? Is Diet Pepsi? It was great. It was fun. The kids had a great time. Several of our students are attending classes at, this is, actually I'll go to this. We take our kids, or have for the last several years, to Ukiah during the winter, and they have an ice rink in Ukiah. And so the kids they go for a couple hours, they ice skate, or try to ice skate and have a great time. So they did that at the beginning of December this year. And we've done it for the last 3 or 4 years. So that's really fun too. These are just the kids doing, I think apples were the like fruit of the month at some point. And so, I told them to pose for it. So that's some of our kids doing that. We played football against the Coast Guard just recently and did really, really well for our kids. So they get to play over, I think some of you have come to their games. And they did, they held their own and only lost by a touchdown, which is pretty darn amazing. And the teacher who coordinates it, Eric, we told him he went to the dark side. He played on the Coast Guard team.
Oh.
So the kids were giving a really hard time about it. But they had a great time. So that's what matters. And they all got to play. This is scenes from the time in Ukiah. So the kids are doing, they were doing tie-dye and they were making some other things. I forget what they were, but these are all kids from all over getting together. And then this is Halloween. So the young man on the right sewed that costume. One of our spot lessons was learning how to use a sewing machine. And so he made the entire costume on his own. And the other one is just a couple of students who were, we all got dressed up for Halloween, or a lot of them did. So it was fun, and we had a big pizza party, and the kids had a good time. And there you have it. I had to put that in. So the one on the left is their brother and sister, and they have matching Christmas holiday jammies. And then most of you probably saw Joe in his suit, and he happened to come by, and Eric was dressed in his, he's been wearing holiday sweaters all week. So I just had to snap a picture of the two of them in their holiday finery. The kids loved it. The kids thought it was a hoot to see him like that. So I want to tell a couple of other things before I get to this picture. We also had our first exhibitions in November, and most of the kids did it in front of the whole school, which is different than it's been. So we have a lot more participation from students. We attended Rotary. This is the second time we've gone. And Gary, one of the teachers, presented a proposal. We want to try to start a microloan program for our students. And Joe was there, but we had brought a student with us. And so afterwards, after we'd gone there and proposed it, we got several inquiries about donating money to that program, but also inquiries about doing internships for our students. And so the Rotary has been a great place for us to go with our kids. So that was fun. Our kids go to the Mendocino Art Center. I wanted to mention that, and they go down there every week to do ceramics, drawing, painting, and jewelry. And so this is coming to an end. They have 2 more times to go, and then we're hoping to do it again with our students. The teacher, Catherine, the counselor, goes down there and stays, and the kids get to work with real artists. So that's been really exciting too. This picture is, last year when I talked about our benchmarks, so to speak, we wanted to highlight a student. So this young man in the picture loved trucks, wanted to do an internship. He did an internship I'm at Anderson Logging, and rebuilt an engine for a racing car for one of the owners. And so he then went to work for them. He is now going to school in Wyoming, and Anderson Logging is paying for his schooling. And so when he comes back, he has to work for them for a while, but they're covering all of his expenses. So that's a big bonus for us. And that's the note I want to end on.
It's awesome, thank you. Well, it shows that big picture works.
Yes, yes, yeah, it does.
No, those were fun pictures. Thank you. And item
All right.
8.3.2.
So next we have the district-wide updates. And so I'll start off by talking about our equity work. We did receive a $200,000, just shy, it's like 199 and some change, anti-bias grant to further equity work throughout the district. These funds will support professional development for staff and administrators. It will also provide a resource to develop our ethnic studies curriculum. The Board of Trustees will meet on January 28th to continue our work on equity, so I look forward to that opportunity. In academics, I figured I would focus in on just a snapshot, a high-level aggregate of our iReady assessment data that we have available to date. Not all students have completed this round of assessments, but it's a majority of them. So we're missing a few here and there, but for the most part, I just wanted to highlight that our students are making some progress. So first we'll look at math. And you can see in the fall we had, looking at the green is where you really want to look, is the mid or above grade level, and then the early on grade level are those two pieces together. So we started at about, in the fall, with about 10% of students there. We're now up to 18%. So we are making growth, though not as quickly in math as we would hope. And then in math, the 3 or more grade levels below has stayed very consistent. So that's also a concern, that there's not necessarily interventions not being successful necessarily with those kiddos at this point. In reading, the picture's definitely rosier. We went from about 21% of our students on grade level to, at the most recent assessment, up to 34%. So that's a significant increase. But also looking at our 3 or more grade levels below, we're seeing a decrease there, so we're not stagnating in that area with reading. So it's showing that we are having some effect with that growth. We'll have more information and the breakdowns from data in future board meetings, but I just thought taking a nice snapshot of that might be a good check-in, because sometimes the lag between, by the time the teachers have had the opportunity to process the data and move forward and then report it back to you, it's been a little while. So, so this is all pretty fresh. The winter assessments a lot of them were administered before the break. Moving on to looking at the dashboard. At our last meeting, I think they had released it that day or just the day before, so we didn't have a lot of time to put that forward, but got a little bit of analysis here. So we'll likely be placed in differentiated assistance, as we have some subgroups who are below the lowest tier in different data areas, or at the lowest tier. The reportable subgroups, and looking at the next couple of slides, are English learners, students with disabilities, foster youth, homeless youth, socioeconomically disadvantaged students, and then the race groups of Hispanic, 2 or more races, and white. So those are our significant subgroups on these reports. In looking at academic engagement, that looks at chronic absenteeism and graduation rate. Our chronic absenteeism is very high for all subgroups. However, that's pretty much the standard in the state right now. And their number is lower than what I came up with, because I was estimating more in the mid-40s, I believe. So I'm not sure what metrics they use, but somehow or other that made a difference there. Our graduation rate, we are making moderate growth in and moving in the right direction. All of our subgroups that were reported there, and we have fewer subgroups in graduation rate because there's the threshold stays the same for reporting. So when you look at a small class of students, there's only 3 groups that actually move forward. That's our Hispanic, white, and socioeconomically disadvantaged. So. In the next area of academic performance, in English language arts, we are in the low category. We are 36.3 points below the standard. And of concern, in the very low category are our English learners and our students with disabilities. So because they're very low in those two groups are very low in both English language arts and math, that's enough for qualifying us for differentiated assistance at this point. I'll find out more about what that actually means because we are not alone. It went from about 300 districts in differentiated assistance in the state to I think about 800 with these reports. So they're trying to figure out what that level of support is going to be, seeing as how it's 80% of the districts in the state at this point. So. And in English language arts, everyone that's not reported in the very low are in the low category. In mathematics, the very low had 4 subgroups. We had English learners, our socioeconomically disadvantaged students with disabilities, and our Hispanic students. And the remaining subgroups are in the low category there. Again, with mathematics, as I was saying, there's an opportunity that the state's putting forward for us to engage in a lesson study. All of our principals have been very responsive in saying, yes, we all know that we need it. It's just there's not been any good supports out there. So I'm glad to see that the state has authorized some projects that will help bolster that instructional practice a good bit. English learner progress, we have a solid medium there that we have 46.1% of our students are making progress towards English language proficiency. And that means that those students are moving forward a level for a year basically. And so that's pretty good considering all the challenges that we had last year with pandemic issues and whatnot. In conditions and climate, there's only one thing to report here is our suspension rate. Our suspension rate is considered high at 5.4%. And in the very high category were our students with disabilities and our foster youth. We know that last year we had a lot of discipline issues that we didn't get a lot of flexibility in that were happening as well, that were you shall recommend expulsion or you shall there's no alternative means of correction as there are in some other areas. So I think that already this year we're sitting in a much better position on that. So I anticipate that that will not necessarily be the case as we move forward. Finally, under local indicators, as I had told you last time, who knew that there were 2 submit buttons on a state report? So I called Becky Walker and spoke with her. In her role, she's helping to support folks in getting this. She said, yeah, there were 2 submit buttons. I said, well, I must have hit the first and not seen the second, thinking submit is submit. She said, no, there was one that was, do you really, really want to submit? And so, unfortunately, I missed that second one. That will not happen again. So I'm embarrassed to say that, but it is what it is. So. Under human resources, we are gathering our information for our staffing needs for 23-24. We will have intent to return letters going out later this month. And we're planning attendance right now at various job fairs throughout the region to recruit staff. There are certainly regional events, there's some statewide events. I even got one advertisement from Las Vegas and I was like, I don't think that's necessarily about the job fair at that point. Nice try.
I'm happy to attend.
So, and the ELOP, so we have some updates. MCRPD decided that they did not want to continue negotiations with us regarding this program, so they are not interested in moving forward. But we are in talks with a new community partner. Their board meeting is actually this evening, so I should hear something, I would think, soon about the viability of that program and moving forward with that partner. If not, I've got a backup partner that I will approach and we'll move forward from there. The new partner will need some time to build up capacity regardless of who we move forward with. So we anticipate having the program up and running for the 23-24 school year. We'll also start some discussions around summer school and have those details out for staff and parents soon. But we will be holding summer school this year and hope to have a nice program that has some variety to it. As many of you may have heard, the governor did release his January budget proposal for the 23-24 fiscal year on Tuesday. At this point, for education, there's a proposed 8.13% COLA for LCFF, along with some other programs such as special education and just some other ancillary pieces that they have there. There was a cut to one of the two one-time funding sources that we got this year. It was the one titled the Art and Music Block Grant, Art, Music, and Instructional Materials Block Grant. That really could be used towards anything, so I'm not sure why they named it that, but it's the legislature. They are removing $1.2 billion from that, so about a third of that money. We had not yet committed a plan to that, so we don't have to back out any budget or anything. We'll just take that into account as we're budgeting that in the plan. The budget does suggest maintaining funding for the ELOP and for the TK expansion, as I would hope so, because we put a lot of time and effort into those programs. And we'll share additional details as the legislature begins the debate about this proposal, because remember, this proposal is simply the governor's, basically the wish list, and we'll see where the legislature ends up. Usually pretty close to it, but sometimes there's a difference. So we'll look forward to seeing how things develop between now and the May revise. And then on to the last section under my reports here are the district priorities. I just want to remind everyone that we're going to start in the LCAP planning process soon. And so highlighting some priorities that I think are evident looking at our data, but just in my time so far in the district, that we want to continue our social emotional learning programs, including our counseling support. I think that it's very much needed, and parents are very appreciative that we have that level of support in place. Continuing and improving reading and math instruction and intervention. Continuing our English learner programs and looking at ways that we can be creative in supporting our English learners. Our special education programs, kind of taking a look and seeing how we can make those more effective, more inclusive, and supportive in the general education environment. And expansion of dual enrollment and elective opportunities for grades 6 through 12. And finally, our equity work. I think all those priorities will shine through in our LCAP. There's many of them already there, and we'll continue to improve on that. And that concludes my report.
Great, thank you. Any questions, comments? Okay, I did see in the budget breakdown last night that we have to make sure we include parents of, what's the proper way? It said disabled students, but I think we're supposed to say differently abled students on our LCAP parent group, and also 2 students. Or it also recommended considering doing a student group separate, which I think would be a good idea.
Certainly, yeah.
We can look into that.
I'll work with Bruce and see if we can get in on the high school and maybe each of the, because Laura, you've got student council as well, right? So come in and ask students directly and
Yeah, nice to involve them in the process.
hear their perspective.
Yeah. Okay, before we move on, Renee, any public comment?
There's none.
No, okay. Item 8.4, California School Employees Association report.
We have no report from them.
We have no report. Okay, item 8.5, Fort Bragg District Teachers Association report.
There's no report.
Okay. Then we'll move on to 9, approval of agenda consent items. The consent calendar is provided for agenda items that are routine or non-controversial. Items on the consent agenda are passed in one motion without discussion. Any item may be pulled from the consent agenda by the board and moved to action when approving the agenda. Is there anything we need to pull? Move? No? Okay, so Vice President Schneider, could you read those?
Of course, item 9.1, warrants. 9.2, minutes, both of December 10th special equity workshop and the December 15th regular meeting. 9.3, personnel action report. 9.4, contracts. 9.5, budget calendar. 9.6, 22-23 quarterly report of Williams uniform complaints. And 9.7, AB 361 teleconference review.
Okay, and Joe's going to talk about that later. That got extended. Okay, now I have to ask a question because this is my first meeting and I should know this. After 4 years, do I ask for a motion or do I just say all in favor?
Yes, for a motion.
Okay, that's what I was thinking, but it wasn't on here. Okay, may I have a motion?
I move to approve the agenda consent items.
And
I'll
a second? Thank you. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Okay. Motion passed. Moving on to board action items. And thank you, Diana. Item 10.1, school accountability report card, the SARC for alternative education.
And just as Connie's coming up, a general statement about all of these, that the state, in their infinite wisdom, has not yet released the data to DTS that handles our document creation. And the state's direction was, we'll go ahead and approve them by the deadline, and then when we get the data in, oh, your board doesn't need to see that again. You don't have to take, but we will bring that back to you, because we want you to approve a completed document. That's what-
Yeah.
So.
I have 3 SARCs for each school: Shelter Cove, Community Day School, Lighthouse Community Day School, and Noyo High School, and they're all the same. And there hasn't been really any changes to them since last year. Corrections here and there, but so I don't know if you have any questions about them. I'm open for questions.
I just have a comment, because it looks like in your area of facility conditions, I just wanted to make a comment that I hope, I'm not sure what the fire safety hazardous material, how you rate poor, what that means, or the other systems, but I just hope that we're able to address the facility sooner than later, because it does state that you're hoping for bond funds to have a new facility.
I hope so, yeah. We, didn't get rave marks.
And then on the FIT report on page,
Yeah.
I don't know what page it is, 7? I think it probably would be 2022. That's the only.
It would be, I'm sorry, what?
It
The
says year and
date for
month
the-
of the most recent FIT report on page 6, I guess 6 of 20. And then it would be obviously great to have them all come back, or just tell us when you post them, because it's good for incoming families or staff to be able to see, and then it kind of lets us as a board assess what programs or what the data says.
I can't see it. The FIT report that's in there is the most current one. Did I not?
I guess there's a date.
You know what? I forgot to change the date. So that's
it.
on me.
Yeah, that's
because
just
the
minor.
report is current.
And it's populated.
Yeah. So that's on me. But yeah, we're hoping for a new school, and that would be great. While I'm up here, though, I know I was supposed to at some point have done some sort of benchmark data, and so our benchmark data last year had to do with attendance and some other things, and we don't have any year-to-year attendance to compare it to, because number one, we've had a lot of illnesses this year, and we haven't had enough students come over from the high school to compare what they were when they were at the high school and when they came to us. So what I did do is look at our enrollment. So I just want to give you some quick numbers. So our enrollment numbers for 21-22 for the period up to January 4th. Last year was 20 students, and this year we have, I believe it's like 49. So our enrollment's gone up. We've had twice as many kids coming to us, which is exciting for us. And we also had the number of internships and volunteering going up. So in 2021, it was only 11. And as of this date right now, there's 15 kids that are internships and volunteer positions, and we just have 2 more that got added yesterday and today. And so that's the part we want to look at. Kids are going out to do interviews or doing cold calls much more than they were last year, which is the huge part of big picture learning. So I'm excited about that.
And Connie did mention to me the kids are going out and finding these
Yes.
mentors, which is a big deal.
Yeah, they are. They have to go find
Yeah.
it. They have to make the call. In fact, one emailed Lundy today to do an informational interview. And we don't help them with any of it. We help them practice, but the rest of it is all on them to go out and
Yeah.
either find it, call, and get out there. So, yeah, it's very exciting. It's very exciting for the kids. We have kids going out on Tuesdays and Thursdays. One's at actually the middle school. One's at Dana Gray doing, helping in the classroom and stuff. So, yeah, it's really exciting stuff.
Great. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So may I, I'm sorry, did anybody else have questions, comments? Nope. I'm sorry, that was on me. I'll learn. May I have a motion?
I move to approve the school accountability report for alternative education sites.
Thank you. And a second? Okay, Renee, roll call?
Trustee Mattson?
Yes.
Trustee Makla?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
And Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Okay. Do we have, Redwood, sorry. Moving on to item 10.2, school accountability report card for Redwood Elementary.
Thank you. Our school accountability report card is updated. The FIT report is updated, and I was actually really pleased writing some of the narrative pieces, noting that we're really reintegrating parents into what we're doing on campus, taking out those, we hope at a later date to be able to, taking those out and saying what we are doing. But that was the major changes therein. Are there any questions about the SARC?
Questions, comments? Looks like no. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, may I have a motion?
I move to approve the Redwood Elementary School Accountability Report Card.
Thank you. And a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call, Renee?
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Mattson?
Yes.
Trustee Makla?
Yes.
And Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Okay, moving on to item 10.3, Dana Gray. Are we holding off on that, or
No, I feel comfortable.
you're doing that? Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
moving forward. So, again, pretty standard. I think, Jamie was certainly happy to be able to put her information as the principal there.
Mhm.
And she's doing a great job with the continuing the great programs that were there. I don't think there were any huge changes anywhere in my review of it. Nothing stood out to me. So, any questions?
Questions, comments? Okay, may I have a motion?
I move to approve the Dana Gray School Accountability Report Card.
And a second?
I'll second.
Renee?
Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
Trustee Makla?
Yes.
Trustee Mattson?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Item 10.4, the school accountability report card for Fort Bragg Middle School.
Our SARC was approved by our leadership team and our site council, so it's been reviewed by those two parties. It remains fairly much the same. The updates are, who the new Parents Club officers are in the in one of whatever the section is. I will address the fit. We do have a pour, which we have had on, well, in 7 years that I've been doing this, and it's for the blacktop out on our yard. Questions?
No questions.
Seeing none, thank you.
Oh. Yeah, my only comment, it's not a question, but I was gonna also, looking at the facilities, what needs to be addressed, and that one has been longstanding.
Yeah.
It has been. And then just so you know, there is a tool that they use as a walkthrough. It used to be that the MCOE sent, what was Steve Turner's title? Anyway, they sent somebody who went through with the tool. And so it's not, it's very prescribed in how they determine what the percentages are and how you wind up with that rating.
Mhm.
Yeah, so those are always available if you ever have questions or public documents as well.
Does that include the tennis courts there and all of that, or just the blacktop?
It's the tennis courts actually passed. It's the
Oh.
blacktop itself because it's
Yeah.
we've walked it and we've looked at having it redone, and it was cost prohibitive, and that was pre-COVID.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
serviced. And this is just a general question
Yep.
for, I don't know, for the document. The salaries, they were populated, I thought, on some of them, and now they're not, or maybe,
They're populated by the state typically.
okay. 'Cause
That's-
there
yeah,
was a
we don't-
number on them before, but maybe it's on a different page. I thought it was,
There's some of our local data, and then the state
oh,
populates
okay,
some
gotcha,
other
it's just
data,
one
so-
section. Exactly,
Yeah.
so I thought I saw it, I'm like, no, it's empty.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's another page, very good, thanks.
Okay, and may I have a motion?
I move to approve the Fort Bragg Middle School School Accountability Report Card.
And a second?
I'll say.
Renee?
Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
Trustee Mattson?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Makla?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
All righty. Last but not least, item 10.5, School Accountability Report Card, Fort Bragg High School.
Thank you. Similar to everybody else, I think our big changes on the SARC were, it was nice taking some of the COVID language out. And I think we added a few more dual enrollment classes than the last, and other than that, I think those are the major changes, and taking out a few names. But pretty much is very similar to the prior year.
Okay, any questions, comments? I can't see Diana, so I don't know if she's.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. I did want to say that I noticed that almost all of you put in bilingual liaisons into the report, so that was really nice to see. So we're reaching out, so thank you very much. I guess no comments. So we'll move on for a motion.
I move to approve Fort Bragg High School School Accountability Report Card.
And a second.
I'll second.
And Renee.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Mattson?
Yes.
Trustee Makla?
Yes.
And Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay, do we want to invite our administrators to go home if they want?
Go to basketball immediately.
No, you want to stay for or the audited financial statements, but.
Joe, you can run. Keep you informed.
Thank you.
And here's your ride.
Oh, please, yes, Joe, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
See you later.
Okay, moving on to item 10.6, the 2021-22 audited financial statements.
So the place that I always tell people to go first is the end, because that's where all of the interesting information is. And this year, we had a finding, which bothers me to no end, but it was when the Expanded Learning Opportunity Grant Plan was approved, it was supposed to be sent to MCOE within, I think it was 5 days. And we posted it on our website and had it ready, and I, in all of the different plans and grants and things, missed that little detail about when that had to be there, so it got there a couple days late. So that was the only finding.
Pretty minor.
But
Yep,
annoying
sounds good.
still. And they said that it was very common throughout the state. And they were even like, can you find anybody from the county office that watched that could say they, you know, because they realized it was pretty petty, but
Yeah.
they're required to report on it, so.
Well,
Did you follow the recommendation of the finding?
Yeah.
Follow up for applications or
Yeah, it's kind of gone now, so it's not a thing that's gonna ever happen again,
Self-resolved, yeah.
and, you know, so
yeah.
we'll just make better note of all these things that come our way and hope they don't change, and then do what we're supposed to do, so.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
And I don't know if you had
Oh.
any questions about the financial portion or anything else that's in there.
I mean, it was pretty straightforward and totally understand when you have 12, 30 reports and that one,
Yeah.
it was quite confusing. So if that's all they could find, that's
Pretty
nothing to
darn
be
good.
ashamed
Yeah.
about.
No. Okay, may I have a motion?
I move to approve the 21-22 audited financial statements prepared by Christie White Associates.
Okay, and a second?
I'll second.
And Renee?
Trustee Makla,
Yes.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
Trustee Paoli,
Yes.
Trustee Mattson,
Yes.
and the motion carries.
Thank you. And any public comment? No, okay.
There is none.
I thought probably not. Okay, moving on to item 10.7, Coast to Coast Advocacy Trip.
Okay, so I know we had been discussing this. I think if we wish to participate in this, we have to make a decision tonight to go ahead and get all those details moving forward. The Coast to Coast Advocacy Trip is an opportunity to for the superintendent and up to 2 board members to go to Washington, D.C., have some prearranged meetings, very much similar to what we do at the state level when we advocate with our legislators, rather, and have the opportunity to just influence policy at a national level that may benefit our students. That advocacy, of course, also helps some of our other districts around who may not be in a position to have that, as we are a small rural district that can continue to have that impact. However, this is a fairly new thing, so I can't really tell you about the efficacy of these efforts, as I think it's only been done for 1 year previous. However, I was involved in the planning of this in some of my previous roles with AXA and really leading up to this, so I know that the intent behind it was very much to mirror what was going on with Ledge Action Days that they've had in the past with CSBA, and
Right.
Really continue that sort of finding that person who's working on something that impacts our area. So that'll probably be part of the conversation moving forward, is what areas are priorities for the district, and how can we get you in the room with, it may not be our representative, but the person who's maybe the lead of the committee that's
Right.
considering this, or that sort of thing.
Which
So,
is the critical piece.
yes, because I talked with someone, they're like, yeah, I met with some guy from Wisconsin, but he was heading up a bill that made sense. So, you know,
Right.
that's kind of those connections. So if we decide to go, that's where I would see that happening. As far as the cost, it would be, I believe it's $675 for registration, and then the airfare and hotel on top of that for each person. So.
And per diem, yeah. So are you feeling still like we can afford to do that, or is this a stretch?
While there hasn't been a direct budget item for this, I think that we have the resources to be able to afford it at this point.
We have some unallocated discretionary funds that we could use.
Okay. So I know we were talking about all of us going to the AEC, I think it's called, yeah, in December next year, but that wouldn't impact this budget, so. Okay, well, it is part of our charge as elected board members to do advocacy work. So, anybody have any comments, questions?
I just reached out to another board member in a neighboring town just to ask if they'd attended. It was only 1 year out. They hadn't. And he just said it's probably going to be similar to the legislative action where it's very scripted. But he did say that happens in every organization. He's also part of the Farm Bureau, and it's the same way. But he says that he still finds it valuable because you're giving them your story and you're giving them, local connection that they will never pause and stop and hear.
Right.
But at the same time, I've got like I was telling Joe, like buyer's remorse. Like it would be so exciting to go, but it's so far away, and with the airlines the way they are, all of that, like it's just really expensive to go and have this script. It's not just going to Sacramento, and they're still doing the Sacramento Ledge this year,
Right.
Virtually. But I also don't want it to hinder our ability to go as a group in December.
In December.
So
Well, and-
that's where I'm just feeling like it's a huge commitment in time and travel, and we may not get back on time.
Right. Well, and Joe mentioned that being that we haven't done this before and it is relatively new, that perhaps it would be a good idea for us to send Joe as our representative, and he can get a feel for, is this a worthwhile thing to do going forward?
Okay, right, and that's an option too, not to have the board members, but you can still, that would make me feel a little bit, because I don't want to, I want to support you in that avenue because I think it is worthy, but I'm a little bit nervous about all those other things I mentioned, so.
Right.
I guess I wonder, one, I think it's a good idea, and I think it's worth it for at least one person to go with Jill.
Mhm.
I also just wonder, and this is not really an answer for right now, what else, if we're gonna travel all that way, how else can we benefit from a trip out there? Making our own appointment,
I think that I think we could probably arrange some of our own appointments too with the time there.
When I was in the travel industry, I did these in Washington,
Mhm.
and you do the group thing, but you also schedule your own.
Yeah.
Whether it's in their office or a coffee or whatever.
Sure.
It is with people that
And even if we
matters
need
in
to
this area.
skip a dinner or something like that, we
Right.
could go and
Exactly.
have a more meaningful.
Yes.
And,
So there-
getting Jared Huffman on board in the planning of it and involved so he could give us entree to things that maybe we wouldn't be otherwise
So I
able
wouldn't
to do.
wanna, limit it to, at this, I think it's, you're asking for you and maybe 2 board members, and if there's money.
The cap is 2.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't actually let your whole board go.
No. Then it really get pricey. Can we approve this as the superintendent and up to 2 board members, and then, I guess we
yes,
have to say who?
But we have to register.
Yeah, oh,
soon,
right,
or-
because the registration isn't it tomorrow?
They've extended it to February 10th, but
Oh,
it's
they
still-
did, okay, because, yeah, it was
That'll
like,
give us more, at least you can, if everyone was, well, you'd probably want to do it together, whoever else is going. Would you say February 11th?
10th.
February 10th, I think,
10th.
is the deadline for
Okay.
registration, so.
Is it the week of school's out?
That.
No.
the
No.
Trip, no, it's not. It's, I think, maybe the following week.
yeah, it's April 24th through April 26th.
Yeah.
So, I think there's something on Sunday. You can do pre-conference activity on Sunday. The National Treasure Hunters Tour.
Yes. However, my experience with Washington DC is don't pay to go places you can go for free.
No.
Right.
Any other questions? Well, I see the positive side to it too. The money part does make me a little nervous in light of certain things, but, face to face, there's nothing that replaces that. And when you see someone's face as they're telling their story, it impacts you differently. So I do see that it would be a worthwhile thing. So,
Well, I guess I'll make a motion to approve attendance by the superintendent and up to 2 board members to the Coast to Coast advocacy trip. And I think, Joe, you just work with us as a group offline and see who's interested. And
Available.
Mhm.
Yeah.
and all that. but at least that way we're
Agreed, yep,
funding, we're making the funding available.
right. May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Renee?
Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Makla?
Yes.
And Trustee Mattson?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Thank you. Okay. Item 10.8, the CSEA classified position funding bus monitor.
Let me get the right tab open here. So in this, when we approved the job description, we had a funding source of supplemental and concentration, and it should have actually been special education because it's for special education services. So minor change, but something we felt we needed to bring back and correct. So.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Okay, may I have a motion?
Motion to approve item number 10.8, CSEA classified position funding with the change as noted.
And a second? I'll
thank you.
second.
Okay,
Second.
Oh.
Whoever.
okay.
Pick
Who
one.
seconded?
Well, Diana said it first, so.
Okay, there you go.
Sorry,
Easy
Terry.
choice.
Thank you, Renee.
Trustee Makla?
Yes.
Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
Trustee Mattson?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Okay, that concludes the action items for the night. Moving on to information and discussion. We have a list of board policy and administration regulation update recommendations.
It's a mouthful.
So it's an awfully long list. If there are any that you would like to specifically discuss, I'd be happy to hear those. Otherwise, most of the updates, I think you can see the kind of rationale as you read through as to why. So they were updated. So.
Okay, there was a lot about cybersecurity. I don't know if that's a coincidence or.
That's because LAUSD got hacked.
Yeah.
So.
It's in everybody's
happening.
face.
Yes, and when LAUSD goes through something, then we get to feel it. throughout
We
the
all
rest of
do.
the So
Okay.
we're fortunate in having the IT services that we do that we've got some good folks working on that end of things. So.
Yes. Did anybody have any questions, comments?
Most of it looked like it was just law changes, and then the options, Renee was kind enough to highlight, and so none of them were controversial. I mean, for.
No, and I just noticed the one AR 5148.2 that talks about the offer access, blah, 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 to the ELOP. We are option 1. So we don't have to worry about option 2.
Yeah, because our unduplicated count is over 75%,
Is
yeah. Okay, I
above
highlighted that
75.
too.
And then the meeting conduct for the board bylaws, that one is just kind of a head scratcher for me because we had that ability before. So the change in that is so subtle. If someone's being disruptive, you give them a warning and you have every right to stop the meeting and maybe asking them to leave. So I don't know what really, if you know of any more detail, what they really massaged in there, because I know you can't.
I think it's a reference to a law that
Okay.
changed within it, so it's a very subtle change.
Very subtle.
Because they did create a new law that basically codifies the fact. I guess there was some
Right.
ambiguity about public meeting what rights did you have? So this solidified that and said, absolutely, we have the right to be able to do those things.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and maybe before it was your amendment rights to be able to, freedom of speech. So maybe they've just clarified that. But I was just letting our board president know we had that ability before.
Yes.
Yeah, I figured it was kind of a reminder, reinforcement. Okay. Anything else?
I just want to bring the board's attention to the AR and BP 3250 regarding transportation fees. This is not something that FBOSD district has done in the past, so whoever decides to make a motion, if you could, the understanding would be that those two would be eliminated from action next month.
Okay. Yeah, we have not, well, actually, we did
do
that for a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did
but
not
not
go over
anymore.
well. So, okay, thank you, Renee. Okay, moving on to FBUSD board, oh, sorry.
So regarding bylaw 9220, talks about candidate statements. Looks like there's just two options. One is either 100% is paid by the candidate or 100% is paid by the district. Is there no middle ground possible? And this is just a,
I don't know that it would be, I think if that were permitted to pick and choose, that would have been an option. But given that
it's
it's
not.
come through with an either or,
Okay,
I would say no.
okay.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's any way to look into it and see if there's, a district can have a fund available, should a candidate not be able to afford a statement? Or so, I just wanna make sure that we're looking at handing out,
Yeah, it's not provided as a recommended option, which is what you're looking at. You're looking at recommended updates and the verbiage, but there may be some sort of language that's acceptable in California, so that's something we can look at.
And in our area, statements are pretty uncommon by school board candidates.
They're uncommon?
Well, the last,
They're uncommon.
I mean,
the last
Kathy and
one,
I
yeah,
had to do
this
it.
past one, we all were
You put statements
Oh,
in?
Yeah.
all
Okay.
of us
We always prepare,
in
but-
both languages.
Okay.
Mhm.
just $500. Yeah.
So
Well,
anyway,
in-
just to encourage more people in the
Mhm.
future, it might be nice, you know.
Yeah, if that's a
to maybe have
roadblock,
a
then,
fund, some
Mhm.
sort of funds available.
And if you need a writer, no, I'm kidding, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on now. Item 11.2, FBUSD Board Bylaw Review. And we agreed we were going to be going through these, what I do with mine. So this month is Bylaw 9400, Board Self-Evaluation, Bylaw 9000, Role of the Board, and Bylaw 9005, Governance Standards. Oh gosh, and I wrote it down. In regards to our self-evaluation, if you could submit that evaluation prior to the February meeting, that would be great. And Renee, has it been fixed, so now when you,
Yes.
it's automatically Google form? Okay,
Yes.
so I won't even speak to that. Perfect. Okay, so, does anybody have any comments?
I didn't see anything in these three that needed adjusting. I think we're practicing all of these standards. And just with the self-evaluation, I don't know what the February meeting looks like, but I think it'd be better on the 9th than at the workshop, just because
Oh, yeah,
this will be recorded and it feels
For the
more
public,
public,
yes.
and that's kind of
definitely.
what that policy is stating, to have it be our other meetings public as well, but it's not, those special meetings are usually not recorded.
Recorded,
So I don't
yeah.
feel like it's fully giving a full picture of how we're evaluating ourselves.
Right.
And I think then it gives us the opportunity to follow up at the governance workshop on
Oh,
a couple
yeah,
days
anything-
later to see if
Right.
there's anything
That's a good idea.
that came
Yeah.
up, so.
A win-win.
Okay. Anyone else? Jerry?
Nope.
Nope.
Well, very straightforward.
Okay, I do have a question. It might be a silly one, but where is it now? I just went by it. But about the elementary and middle school graduation requirements? Like, do we have elementary and middle school graduation requirements?
Or are you talking about the
Others?
policy reference under?
It's on policy, or bylaw 9000, and it's under C,
C.
establishing academic expectations, et cetera.
Right, and it's just, what this is the cross-reference to other policy
Okay,
that come back and say the board would participate in graduation ceremonies if there are at those levels.
okay, so if there's promotions and what, okay.
Right, yeah.
Gotcha, because I was like, graduating from elementary school, okay. It
It
seemed a
happens.
little, I suppose, perhaps it does, yes. Okay, and then I did notice too that the high school exit examination was still on here, which doesn't exist anymore, is that,
That's probably a revision that we need to make.
okay. All righty.
Yes,
That was-
hopefully that does not come back.
No, oh, gosh, hope not, yeah. Okay, that was all I had. Anybody else? Okay. We will move on. Item 11.3, the CSBA recommended board policy 0415 equity. We just said we would keep this on as we are working. Yeah.
So in doing these, is the plan to, if there are changes, to adopt updates to these, or?
We would have to then bring it back through Renee to come up on our board policies, and we'd make those changes.
Okay. So like the change you just suggested, is that an example?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're gonna do those all at once, or are we gonna wait till, like, do them as we go?
That's board discretion. If you want to do them in chunks as we go through the year following the calendar, that might make it a little easier for the board.
Be less unwieldy.
I will make notes in the minutes, and anything that you want moved to action for consideration at the next regular meeting, we can roll them that way throughout the year.
Great. Thank you. So anyone else? No? Okay. So I already stated 11.3 that we are keeping that board policy 0415 equity on as we are working through and doing our work on that. And again, we're having our board workshop on January 28th. And where are we having that? In your office again?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
And so I didn't compare, because I think we had that's where we left off with our last workshop, is that we were looking at, what sentence were we looking at when you just pieced it out in our room? Do you remember? Or this was just the CSBA version?
This is just the CSBA
And what you
versions.
provided was totally new?
Was just, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm like, I didn't find that. but I
No,
didn't
that
Oh,
was
yeah.
a
compare.
definition from the National Equity Project, I think.
Okay,
So,
Yeah.
so we may end up folding that in here, is what
It-
we're
it could-
thinking?
yeah, it
Okay,
could be
'cause
incorporated in some way.
I didn't think that was in there, but
No.
I didn't actually compare them, but just from my memory.
Yeah, and it could
Okay.
also be our equity statement that's
Yeah.
similar to like what our vision and mission.
It'll be another statement
Another
that'll be
statement that kind
on.
of accompanies with that.
Okay,
So,
Something that's easier for the public to digest as opposed to going through a board policy
Right.
going, oh, good Lord. Yeah.
gotcha. Like a summary, okay.
Okay, item 11.4, the Brown Act virtual meeting requirements, AB 361 and AB 2449.
all right, so I like the memo that we got from School and College Legal Services. I think that it did a good job of summarizing kind of the differences. Everything else I'd seen had sort of looked at one or the other, but didn't put them all in the same place. So AB 361 has been extended through the end of this calendar year, so it'll
Mhm.
sunset on December 31st. And only applies when there's a proclaimed state of emergency. So at this point, the COVID state of emergency is scheduled to end, I think, in February, at the end of February. So at this point, we can still use the AB 361. That's why it was on the consent agenda for this time around. We'll likely put it on for next time. From that point forward, we'll have to switch over and use the language under AB 2449, and that's more to the nature of you have a personal emergency. So say you get gravely ill and need to be from your home so you're not exposed to germs or those types of things. But we still have to have under that section of code, we have to have a majority of the board in one location within the district. So sort of a blending of AB 361 and what the old Brown Act rules were. But it's really nice that if you need to be at home, that you can still participate in the meeting and not have to post it and open your home for
Right.
the public to come in, that kind of thing. So,
Well, and our previous superintendent had to do that very thing toward the end of last year when her son was in Stanford with a medical emergency. And so I don't know what that room was she was in with the green curtains, but yeah, she attended virtually. So that was that very thing. So we'll move to AB 2449 starting in February or after February?
after February.
After the
I think
February meeting, okay.
The state of emergency ends at the end of February.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then- So
okay.
for our March meeting, those will be the rules. So you won't see the AB 361
Yeah.
any longer at that point.
Consent. So the dates are a little off. So this one's effective January 1st, but they're still giving us until March 1, basically.
Yeah, they
Right.
overlap
So
and make it
there's a little bit of
funky.
a-
Okay.
overlap, so-
So
They
people-
just extended the state of emergency to February 28th.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I missed that memo.
Yeah. So-
So if I see folks, other boards, they're still going over the old,
Mhm.
because a few I've seen where their cameras aren't even on. And technically, that's even with the old,
Even with-
it's a no-no. You have
Right.
to have your camera on and during that time with the old AB 361.
Mhm.
So thank you for sharing.
Certainly.
Okay, so we'll move on to board reports. Does anyone have anything to share?
I have nothing.
I guess going back, we went, I saw Joe and met his family at the CTE, the winter workshop sales, and that was really fun. I got a bunch of items that the kids made. And then I have kept if you have an extra $12 a month, you can do NFHS, and I've been watching basketball, boys and girls, which is really fun. The camera is really good. It's pretty impressive. So anyway, I hope if anyone wants to see, I can share what it looks like. And the sound, it sounds like some games had it and some didn't, but I think if there's music playing, they automatically shut it off because of those.
Because the licensing. maybe,
Yes, and so
Oh.
I guess the machine just shuts it off for the rest of the game, because I don't mind it being on mute, because I don't really need the chaos, because the scoreboard now is fixed.
Okay.
So now we can see the score. But when you couldn't see the score and there was no sound, you're like, who's
What's going
winning? Like,
on?
what's going on? Like, I could see what's happening, but I don't have to take stats to keep
Well,
track.
basketball is fast, too.
Basketball is
It's-
fast. So I'm thinking that's why it's tripping. It's tripping it
Oh.
off, because at the beginning, there's usually warm-up music,
Mhm.
and it just never comes back on. But
That
people
makes
say,
perfect sense.
I like the sound, and you can just mute it when it comes on. So that's what I got from
Okay.
the public. And then I attended the high school site council meeting as a parent, and I knew Mary
Sorry,
wasn't
I
able
missed
to
it.
attend, because that's her site now. But they did talk about their SARC, which was nice. And it was a new group of staff and a couple of parents. So that was nice to see as well. People back at it, and it's a lot of parents that used to go don't go because they don't feel like it's as meaningful, because back in the day we had more decisions to make, but it really is an opportunity to talk to admins about what's bugging you, what you like, what you don't like, in an environment that might help with their school plan. It's still worth attending. And then last night, webinar at the CSBA touched on what you spoke about this evening. And one thing that keeps coming up at some of these meetings about budget is, the gripe that we're ADA funded, we're not basic aid, we want to have it all equal. And so I think they're really looking into that. They really feel like all of our stories are effective to kind of get the legislature to kind of think about it. And they feel like if your attendance is really good, if you're a district with really good attendance, it's really going to hurt you, because spreading it out, everyone's going to have less. So it may
It
not
should
be
be
all
based
that it's
on
cracked up.
enrollment.
It may not be what's all cracked up to be, to have it where every school is getting more equal. But I don't know for us, because our attendance is not 95%.
It should be based on enrollment.
It should be based on enrollment, yeah.
You got
And-
28 kids in a classroom, you
Yes.
get 28 desks, 28 books,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and even if 20 of them are there, you still need 28
Right.
desks and 28
Yeah.
books. So
That-
it's,
So that they're at least thinking about it to see, like, because they're afraid, obviously, the bigger school districts, that they're going to end up taking money from, someone's going to end up losing. I don't know that we would personally, but at least they're they're hearing that. So all our talks and stories are
Yeah,
reaching out to them, but.
the advocacy's working.
Yeah, the advocacy is working.
It
so-
definitely needs to happen. I mean, it is ridiculous. If you
It-
have to
it
be
is.
ready for 28, then you should be paid for 28.
Yeah, so that's
Oh,
my
thank
report.
you. Okay, I'm part of the Friends of Mendocino College Coast Center group, and so I'm part of the fundraising group. So we had a meeting a couple days ago. couple days ago. I've been so crazy busy. It was yesterday, actually.
It was today.
No, I had two. I had a fundraising meeting yesterday, and
Oh,
I
you had the
the-
fundraiser.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, so
I
that
was
we
gonna
could.
say, no,
No,
just
that
earlier
was today. That was only a few hours ago. Yeah, I did that one too. But yeah, we had our
She's been up
fundraising
since
group
4.
met because we're going to be, and then Joe and I were both at the regular meeting today. We're going to be holding a chamber social mixer. I've never been to one. I don't know what they're like, but I'm going to be at this one, and you're all welcome to join. We'll have refreshments, and we're going to have a speaker, a young woman who just started working at the college as the, oh, God, what is that? Did she say what her title is? I've heard it before.
She's the center assistant.
She's the one you're going to see. She's the
Yes.
face.
Yeah, she's the
that's
face as you.
At the, yeah,
Yeah.
the desk, and she's the one that's going to help you with everything. And she was a student and graduated, and now she's working there, so she's going to be speaking. There's going to be a silent auction with great prizes. I'll talk to you. It is February 13th.
That's the normal
Six-
chamber, make sure that we get reminders from the chamber on.
Okay, so February 13th, and
16th, I believe.
Oh, I thought it was the 13th, okay.
February 16th.
It is, oh gosh, okay, I'm way off. Okay. We'll have a flyer coming out, so you'll all get that. And, yeah. It should be nice, should be good, so I hope to see you there. So those are the two things that I was busy
So,
doing.
Mary, that's from the Friends of
Friends
the
of Mendocino College
Colleges.
Co-Center.
And where is it located?
Oh, we're gonna have it at the, well, they used to be called the library at the college, and now it's called something else. It's
So
still
at the
library.
college campus?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, Barb Rice, she was the,
Mhm.
okay, everybody knows who Barb is, so she's gonna be our MC host.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. So, moving on to 12.2 Advanced Planning, Suggestions for Future Board Meetings. We have our Board Equity Workshop on January 28th, Joe's office. We have our Board Governance Workshop February 11th, and where are we going to hold that?
It'll be in the conference room here at the high school, I believe.
A high school conference room, okay. All right, and does anyone have anything else, suggestions?
I don't think so.
No? Okay, so we're on to 12.3, housekeeping, reminders and announcements. So everybody remembers their school assignment. And so are you going to go to the Three Rivers meeting the 17th? I can attend if you can't. You don't, okay. All righty. Okay,
Sure.
and I have a question about, so the high school, it says high school ELAC, DLAC, and I know we're kind of combining them.
Mhm.
So is every time there's an ELAC meeting at a school, it's going to be also the DLAC?
Yeah, no, it shouldn't just be the high school in that, it's the ELAC, DLAC, so it'll be all schools.
Okay, for the
that-
DLAC
On the
portion.
23rd, yes.
Yeah,
And
Okay.
those are virtual.
right.
Because I
Okay.
could, I've gone to the last two, so I can go to that, but
Okay.
but you can
I-
as well.
Yeah, I'll plan to go too. Okay, so Diana and Mary. Okay, I'm going to assume that everybody knows their school. We're going to try to make those parents club meetings and site council meetings, et cetera. I haven't seen coffee with the principal on here anymore at Redwood. Is that
It's around Fridays.
right?
It actually falls on a date after the next regular board meeting.
Oh, it does.
So
Okay.
it's, I,
So we'll do it next.
just to
yeah.
keep it brief-ish.
Okay. Well, and if people, whoever it is, if you keep up with it. Okay, well, I think that is it, unless anybody has anything else.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Jerry, thank you. Second.
Second?
Scott, thank you. All in favor?
Yes.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.